There will be days when you feel unstoppable. Days when motivation feels natural, when waking up early feels easy, when eating healthy feels exciting, and when working toward your goals feels effortless. But there will also be days when motivation disappears completely. Days when you feel tired, distracted, stressed, or simply not in the mood to do anything productive. And those are the days that truly determine your success. Because success isn't built on motivation, it's built on discipline. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes depending on how you feel. Discipline, on the other hand, is behavioral. It's built on what you do, regardless of how you feel. That's why relying on motivation alone is one of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to change their lives. They wait until they feel inspired. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until the mood is perfect. But discipline doesn't wait for feelings. Discipline shows up even when the excitement is gone. Think about it like this. If motivation were enough, everyone would reach their goals. Everyone feels motivated at the beginning. The first day of a diet feels exciting. The first week of working out feels powerful. The first few days of a new habit feel fresh and full of energy. But what happens after the excitement fades? That's where most people quit. Not because their goals aren't important, but because they never learned how to act without motivation. Discipline begins when motivation ends. It starts the moment you don't feel like doing the work, but you do it anyway. It begins when you choose consistency over comfort. It grows every time you follow through on a commitment, even when it feels inconvenient. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about repetition. It's about showing up again and again, especially on the days you don't feel like it. One of the biggest myths about discipline is that disciplined people are somehow stronger or more motivated than everyone else. That's not true. Disciplined people feel lazy, they feel tired, they feel unmotivated. The difference is they don't let those feelings control their actions. They understand that feelings are temporary, but actions create results. If you want to build discipline, the first thing you need to do is lower the barrier to action. Most people fail because they make their goals too big and too overwhelming. They tell themselves they need to work out for an hour, cook perfect meals, and completely change their lifestyle overnight. That level of pressure creates resistance, and resistance leads to procrastination. Instead, discipline grows when actions become small and manageable. Not 1 hour of exercise, but 5 minutes. Not a perfect healthy meal, but one better choice. Not a complete lifestyle overhaul, but one small improvement repeated daily. When the task feels simple, your brain is less likely to resist it, and once you start, momentum begins to build. Momentum is powerful. It's easier to keep moving than to start from zero. That's why the hardest part of discipline is often the beginning, the moment when you have to take the first step without motivation. But once you start, even with the smallest action, it becomes easier to continue. One push-up becomes 2. One page becomes 2 pages. One healthy choice becomes 2. Another important part of discipline is removing decision fatigue. Every time you have to decide whether or not to take action, you give yourself the opportunity to quit. That's why routines are essential. When something becomes routine, it no longer requires motivation. It becomes automatic. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wait until you feel motivated to brush your teeth. You don't debate whether or not to do it. You simply do it because it's part of your routine. That's what discipline looks like when it's fully developed. Actions become automatic, not emotional. To build this kind of routine, consistency matters more than intensity. Doing something small every day is more powerful than doing something big once in a while. Many people push themselves too hard at the beginning. They go all in, burn out, and quit. But discipline isn't built through bursts of energy. It's built through steady repetition. There will be days when you feel tired, days when life feels overwhelming, days when stress makes everything harder. On those days, discipline doesn't mean pushing yourself to the extreme. It means doing the minimum required to keep your promise to yourself. Even if that minimum feels small, maybe it means going for a short walk instead of a full workout. Maybe it means preparing one healthy meal instead of 3. Maybe it means writing one paragraph instead of a full page. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is continuity. The goal is to avoid breaking the chain. Another powerful way to build discipline is to focus on identity rather than outcomes. Instead of saying, "I want to lose weight," say, "I am someone who takes care of my body." Instead of saying, "I want to be productive," say, "I am someone who shows up every day." When your actions are connected to your identity, they become more meaningful. You're not just chasing results, you're becoming a different person. Identity-driven discipline is powerful because it shifts your focus from short-term emotions to long-term character. You stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" and start asking, "Is this what the person I want to become would do?" That simple shift changes everything. Environment also plays a major role in discipline. Many people blame themselves for lacking willpower, but the real problem is their surroundings. If unhealthy food is always within reach, resisting it becomes harder. If distractions are everywhere, focusing becomes more difficult. Discipline isn't just about controlling yourself. It's about designing your environment to support your goals. Remove the triggers that lead to bad habits. Make the good habits easier to access. Prepare your workout clothes in advance. Keep healthy snacks visible. Silence unnecessary notifications. These small adjustments reduce friction and make disciplined behavior more natural. Accountability is another powerful tool. When you know someone is watching or expecting progress from you, it becomes harder to quit. Sharing your goals with a friend, joining a group, or tracking your progress publicly can create external pressure that supports internal discipline. Tracking progress is especially important, not because numbers define your success, but because progress builds confidence. When you see evidence that your actions are working, it reinforces your belief in the process. Even small improvements matter. Even tiny steps forward are proof that discipline is working. One of the hardest moments in building discipline is dealing with failure. You will miss days. You will make mistakes. You will fall short of your expectations. That doesn't mean discipline is gone. It simply means you're human. The difference between disciplined people and everyone else is not that they never fail. It's that they return quickly. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the beginning of a new habit. That's why recovery matters more than perfection. When you slip, don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for next month. Start again immediately. The faster you recover, the stronger your discipline becomes. Another key to discipline is accepting discomfort. Growth requires discomfort. There will always be moments when taking action feels inconvenient. Moments when rest feels more appealing than effort. Discipline means accepting that discomfort is part of the journey, not a sign that something is wrong. Discomfort is temporary. Results are lasting. The short-term discomfort of effort creates long-term rewards, but avoiding discomfort creates long-term regret. That's the trade-off you face every day. It's also important to understand that discipline is not about punishment. It's not about forcing yourself to suffer. It's about making choices that support your future self. Every disciplined action is an investment. Every time you show up, you build trust with yourself. Self-trust is one of the greatest rewards of discipline. When you consistently follow through on your promises, you begin to believe in your own ability to succeed. Confidence doesn't come from thinking positive thoughts. It comes from proving to yourself that you can take action, even when it's hard. Over time, discipline becomes easier, not because the work changes, but because you change. Your tolerance for discomfort increases. Your habits become automatic. Your identity becomes stronger. What once felt difficult begins to feel normal. And eventually, something surprising happens. The things you once struggled to do become part of who you are. Waking up early feels natural. Eating healthy feels routine. Staying consistent feels expected. Not because motivation suddenly returned, but because discipline replaced it. The truth is, motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. Motivation can start the journey, but discipline keeps it moving. When motivation fades, and it will, discipline is what carries you forward. So when you wake up tomorrow and motivation isn't there, don't panic. Don't wait for inspiration. Take one small action, just one. Because discipline isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in quiet moments of decision. Moments when no one is watching. Moments when quitting feels easier, but you choose to continue. That's how discipline is built. Not in perfect days, but in imperfect ones. Not when you feel strong, but when you feel weak. Not when motivation is high, but when motivation is gone. And if you keep showing up, one day at a time, one action at a time, you won't just reach your goals. You'll become the kind of person who never depends on motivation again. Because in the end, discipline isn't about doing what's easy. It's about doing what matters. And remember, Motivation will come and go, but discipline is what keeps you moving forward. Even on the days when you feel tired, distracted, or unmotivated, showing up for yourself, even in small ways, makes a difference. Because discipline isn't built in perfect moments. It's built in the moments when quitting feels easier, but you choose to continue anyway. If this video helped you, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content on discipline, mindset, and building habits that actually last. And before you go, ask yourself this one question. What is one small action you can take today, even without motivation? Start there. Keep going, and I'll see you in the next video.